What's up, everybody? This is Charles from Hidden Reef Village, and this is Noah from Noah's Aquarium.
How's
Thanks
it going?
for having me today.
Thanks.
We're here in Mississauga, Ontario. Let's get a rundown of what you do in this basement here. What you doing?
I make lots of messes, according to my wife. About a year ago, I had some clownfish that had some eggs. I thought, why not try and find out what it takes to raise them? And now it's a year later, and I can't stop. I can't stop. It's an addiction. So I've had, my routine down on raising some clownfish. And as they get to a mature age, I've been able to take some to market, make a little bit of money, and it's been great so far. It's really rewarding seeing, the ultimate challenge of reefing, of being able to create new life in addition to just kind of sustaining it. And I love it.
And seeing it from like the egg to maturity stages must be pretty rewarding.
It is, absolutely.
Yeah. So let's actually take a look, get a closer look.
Sure.
All right, Noah. If you don't mind, let me just walk us through what's going on in this setup here.
Sure. So these are the 4 tanks of my youngest fish that I have. The first one to your left is a tank of fish that actually were just born this morning. So what I did in order to set this tank up was I used about 2/5 of the parent tank water and about 3/5 of new fresh salt water. And just before the lights went out on my parents' tank, I took the flower pot that the eggs were on and I swapped it with a fresh flower pot and put it in this tank. The key is to aerate the babies, so I just had that air stone going lightly overnight, and in the morning I had a tank full of babies. Low-tech tank, really, other than that air stone, there's really just a heater in there. So that'll be set up for a couple weeks now, and the key temperature is 82 degrees. I found that above that temperature they'll go to their metamorphosis a little bit quicker. And
metamorphosis being this stage here, yeah?
Yeah, so that's when they actually fill in with their orange or white bodies. You can start to see stripes on them. And that's kind of like the key point where you kind of know that you're safe, that the survival rate of the fish goes way up. So the sooner you can get to that point, the better. If you keep the temperature under 80, then you're kind of working with delicate fish for 2 weeks, 3 weeks until they get to that point. You're feeding much smaller food, and it's kind of a little bit more of a hassle. So the goal really for me is to get to that metamorphosis stage as soon as I can.
Right. And you think that helping, maintaining a slightly higher temperature does help?
Absolutely, absolutely. I've found that under 82, it's been taking anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks to start seeing colors, and for above that temperature, 7 days, 10 days is not uncommon.
Wow.
But I mean, all clownfish might be different. So, some might be more, some might be less. But the general consensus around the research that I've done is the higher temperatures are, above 80 is the goal to getting the best results.
Awesome. And this tank also just has a flower pot, and also a heater and some air stone, I believe. Is that it?
Right. At this point, they're still small. I don't want to put too many distractions in the tank, make it easy for them to find their food. Once they go to the stage at about a month or 2, I'll put in a filter, like a sponge filter. And sometimes if I have a fake anemone or something like that, I'll just toss it in for something for them to play with.
So this is that next stage that we're seeing right now.
Exactly. So there's an extra flower pot in there. You see the sponge filter.
Right.
And, I try to be a little economical. Obviously, these filters get clogged. It takes a lot of time to try and clean them up. And when the food is so small, it gets so lodged into these sponge filters.
Right.
It's really hard to get them super clean. So I just use some filter floss with an elastic band, cut a strip off, and replace that about every 2 weeks or 1 month.
Okay. And what type of clownfish are these that we have here?
So it's funny that every single clownfish that I have are from a pair of frostbites.
Okay.
Now frostbites are kind of a combination of a couple things. So when I have my babies, it turns out that the higher order from the frostbites come out, and I get some fish that are all white with no spots.
Wow.
I get white ones with lots
see
of
that.
spots. I get some plain ones, some
Yeah.
like dark orange ones.
Right.
Really cool patterns. So that's part of the fun.
Yeah.
Is you know,
Definitely.
it's kind of like
You never know what you're
it's
gonna get.
Christmas morning, and exactly, and everyone's different, and it's like a Kinder egg in
Yep.
my own house, like you know, some cool patterns, and that's exciting.
That's beautiful. And this tank here, they seem a little bit bigger than the last. How
Yeah.
big are these? How old are these?
These are my eldest fish. They range in age from they were from about August to September. So geez, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. These are about 10 months old.
Wow.
And they're fully grown, fully marketable size.
So they're ready to go to a nice home, eh?
ready to go to a nice home. They're about 1.25 to 1.5 inches. And that's a really, really great size where, you know, they're healthy.
Right.
There's not really much to worry about for what they're going to turn out looking like.
Right.
They're as close to as grown to be able to be brought to either other people that are in the hobby or stores or whatever you or for your own aquarium.
Perfect. All right, no, what's behind the store here?
Behind the magic door is the rest of the operation.
Awesome.
So here's where a couple of the supplementary things go on.
What's in this
behind the
tank
scenes- In this tank, this is a 2.5 gallon tank, and we've got 8 berghia nudibranches. So they're Acacia eaters. I initially got them to deal with the problem in my tank and found they were doing a really good job and also multiplying at a very high rate. So other people were looking for them as well, so that became a good opportunity to, find something to supplement the clownfish with. So that's been a lot of fun too.
Awesome.
Just to the right there, you got my phytoplankton culture station. So we've got about 9 gallon containers that have an air stone at the bottom. All I do is every week to 2 weeks, I take half of that out and I store it in bottles for myself, and I just fill the rest up with more 1.020 saltwater and a little bit of fertilizer. No heat needed, nothing like that. And in about a week it turns dark again and I repeat the process.
So for people that aren't aware, these are basically live food, but they're very small, microscopic almost. So they seem like just solid green, but rest assured there are thriving little bunch of food in there that are bubbling.
Exactly, and this is what I use to feed the rotifers, which is the first stage of live food that I'll feed my clownfish. And that's what I keep in the buckets just below.
Awesome. Well, I think we should do a big dive onto some of the more details of your operation in another episode. I think this was a really great introduction, and for people to get a better idea of some of the stuff that they might need to get started, and also learn that it's not a very, technically advanced always projects. It's just good husbandry. That's what it really takes, people. To survive in this hobby for a long time, you need good husbandry. Nothing else.